Welcome to the Natural Reward Podcast. I'm your host, Owen Gilbert, and today I'll be talking to Brian Johnson, who's a full stack web developer and software engineer living in San Francisco. And Brian's dealing with a quite unusual problem out there. Brian, would you like to tell us about what the issue is?
Sure. Thanks for having me on your podcast, Owen. The problem originated for me when I moved into a neighborhood in San Francisco uh, with my wife. We could only afford the least expensive neighborhood in San Francisco at the time, and we saw a lot of potential. Over the next 8 years, we uh, remodeled our home. We had kids. I now have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. And our hopes for the neighborhood haven't come to fruition. And this neighborhood historically suffers from a number of equity issues. One of those issues is a large amount of illegal dumping. And it's such a large amount that any given day in this neighborhood, if you walk around, you will be stepping over piles of garbage on the sidewalk. I guarantee you, within a few blocks of my house, you'll find large piles of illegal dumping.
Do you ever see the people that are actually doing the dumping while they're doing it?
I I think I've maybe once seen someone actually dumping. I've heard stories of other people seeing someone dumping.
Yeah. So I
I
read
don't
up on
really,
this a little
yeah.
bit, and just kind of what the problem or what the source of the problem is. It seemed like there were two things. One, it was a little more expensive now to take trash to an actual paid dump. And then two, maybe the services weren't like as quick as people were hoping for. I mean, it says on the website 48 hours they'll pick up, like you can actually for free call the city and they'll come pick up the trash. So it's like, why are people doing this? The first question is, why don't the conventional kind of solutions to this problem work, like punishing people with fines?
So I'm gonna make a blanket statement here and say that I'm not really qualified to talk about that side of this issue.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not focused on the people
Well, there's another
that are
option, right,
doing
which
it.
is like surveillance cameras that would catch people. And I think you mentioned in your proposal that those actually are pretty expensive. And people, the city was, I saw that some cities were wanting to put up surveillance cameras, and I think you mentioned that they were like $25,000 for one camera. And you'd have to have those things all over the place
Yeah.
to effectively monitor
Yeah. I
dumping.
mean, in general, with enforcement, cities have had a hard time gaining any traction. So in order to enforce a dumping incident, first of all, it has to be captured either on video or an eyewitness. The eyewitness has to have information identifying the person doing the dumping. So
Yeah. It's just one
then
of those crimes that are easy to get away with, basically.
it's very easy it's very hard to enforce because
Yeah.
people there's a number of ways that a dumper can get away with dumping. First of all, like, they're not going to show their ID.
Yeah.
Maybe they're in a stolen car, or maybe the car has a fake license plate.
Yeah, so this kind of reminds me of a more general category of kind of public goods issues where kind of leaving it to conventional punishment or law enforcement or just human morality isn't going to cut it, and we need technological solutions. You can think about um, climate change or a lot of things having to do with the biodiversity crisis, where people are um, kind of incentivized to act in their own self-interest, and it's the tragedy of the commons, and we kind of need to innovate our ways out of these problems. But before we get to your solution, just how big is this problem? Is it just your city or is it all over the place?
It's every city.
Yeah.
Every city around the world suffers from this kind of issue. Oftentimes it goes out of sight and sort of out of mind for the majority of people. If you were to talk to people throughout San Francisco, most of them would not be aware of the dumping that goes on in the southeast side of San Francisco, because they don't come to the southeast side of San Francisco. And in every city there's a place like that. There's somewhere that's forgotten. And those places are the places where dumping happens more frequently, and they gain a reputation among those who do dump as a place where they can do it and get away with it.
Yeah, I would encourage people that haven't experienced this firsthand, like you have, to go onto YouTube and just type in illegal dumping, and you'll see some videos of people in the act. And it really makes it real to just see people doing this. And it's hard to believe that somebody would pull up in a, you know, $70,000 truck with an expensive trailer, and they obviously have some money, and then they're just dumping loads of trash on the side of the road out, somewhere where it's kind of a poor area on the outskirts of town, because they think they can get away with it, and they usually can. And it's like, well, they could just in your town, it seems like people could actually just do this for free if they took a little effort, or pay somebody not too much to take it away for them. But okay, so let's get to your solution. The simple fact is people do this, and despite efforts to curb it, it's still a huge problem all over the place. And so, what did you start doing in your neighborhood when you took action?
Well, the first thing I did was to complain myself. So I called the hotline, the San Francisco phone number, and complained. I downloaded the app and I started reporting every dump site I saw. And I happened to bike to work. At the time, I was biking my kids into daycare every day, and I was on a cargo bike. I had to bike about 5 miles, which goes through. I'm on the the south side of my neighborhood. I had to bike through the whole neighborhood to get to the north side, which is on my way to downtown. And I would stop on the way and with my kids on the front on the bike, and just pull out my phone and report the dump sites. And I would see at least 2 or 3, 4 every day, new stuff, large stuff, on my way to school, to take the kids to their school or daycare. So that's how I started out.
What's your neighborhood called again?
It's called Bayview in San
Okay,
Francisco. It's
I
the
saw that as
southeast
listed
side.
as one of the ones that had a problem. I think
It's very bad.
they mentioned too on a website that I was looking at.
Well, there's Hunters Point, there's
Yeah, that was the other one.
Bayview,
Yeah,
and then the Mission, and then
yeah, they mentioned the mission too. Yeah.
there's another one called the Tenderloin.
Okay.
That's those are the worst ones in San Francisco, but there's a long tail after that of neighborhoods that also suffer from illegal dumping. Yeah, so that's how I started out. It was like, I'm gonna stop and report everyone I see. And what I learned from doing that was that if I reported it, it either, like, the city acknowledged it, and oftentimes it would be gone the next day. Also, on the application, I could see what the city had done, because they leave a note, and sometimes they even left a photo showing what they did, or what it looked like after they cleaned it.
And did you talk to some of these people that whose job it is to actually pick up the trash for the city?
Not at that point. At that
Okay.
point, I mean, the only thing I did was call and like yell,
Yeah.
be like, "Why aren't you guys cleaning this up?" And I think that was naive at the time. I mean, I didn't know what was going on. We grew up together. We grew up in a very nice suburban neighborhood in Texas, and it was clean, right? You never
Yeah.
saw dumping, and I was just kind of like, "What is going on here? Why isn't the city doing anything?"
How long did it take for them to clean it up usually?
So they have an SLA of 4 hours for bagged garbage and 48 hours for loose debris. And typically they hit that SLA.
Really?
SLA
Okay.
is a service level agreement. So they actually do a really good job, if they know about something, of cleaning it up.
So
And
if
I would
these
later figure out
people,
why they do a good job. I would later figure out like how that works.
But it's just amazing to me that people could call this hotline for free or go to the app and say, I want you to pick up my trash, and they would come within 48 hours, and people still dump.
Well, here's the thing: is like calling the hotline. It doesn't work. It doesn't work the way there's a queue. So you have it doesn't come the hotline doesn't happen in 48 hours. So when you call the hotline, they schedule that out for like a month.
Oh,
You have to wait until your time slot. And
but for the stuff you were reporting, they came faster.
yeah, so that's stuff that's left in the public right of way. That's left out. Yeah, they come. So that's something that's left
Oh, I see.
on the sidewalk or in the street.
That's what it is. So like a landlord evicts a tenant and doesn't want to wait a month to get rid of all the furniture. So, he wants a new tenant in there, so he just takes it to the street. And if somebody says something, he just says, "Screw you,
I
man!
mean,
I need my money or whatever."
they're not going to pick. I mean, they're not picking up. There's no policy that they'll pick up people's garbage for free.
Yeah,
Um,
so otherwise that landlord would have to maybe pay somebody to come get it the same day, right? There's probably some
yeah,
services.
there's a service for single family homes that allows you to have 2 pickups a year from Recology, which is the company that services the garbage bins. They will pick up large bulky items twice a year, but you have to schedule that ahead of time. The DPW or Department of Public Works doesn't have any such service like that, and they're the ones who will pick up loose debris, and then Recology will pick up bagged debris or bagged garbage anywhere if it's reported. But they only do that. They don't do that. Um, that is not something that they expect to do often. They do that as more of a consolation or a way to help keep the streets cleaner. It's not like a service that's offered, which I think is one of the roots of the problem is an education issue. Um, people, a lot of people don't understand the cost of dumping, and they don't understand what's available and what they should do. And
Yeah.
so, like for instance, like anytime you buy something, you should know that you have to pay to throw it away. But a lot of people find that shocking.
We can circle back around to like alternative solutions maybe at the end that might even have to do with what your solution is. But
Mhm.
so what did you start doing then to combat this problem in your neighborhood?
All right. So I realized when I was, stopping and reporting it on my bike that like sometimes I would ride a different route that I hadn't ridden the day before and there'd be garbage again. My goal was to not have to see garbage because I have kids. I don't want them seeing garbage. It's bad for their mental health.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, what if I just go out and like ride around and scout out the neighborhood? But that I'm a software engineer and like I did that for about a week, but it goes against everything I believe in about software to go out and manually do that for very long. And so I thought, well, I'm not going to go every day and ride my bike around and report garbage. This is like seems like a real waste of my time to do that when I could find a better way. So I thought about like, what if I could build a robot that would drive around and report the garbage? And I initially started looking at ground vehicles, but then I quickly realized like that's very complicated. I'd have to have it cross the street and watch out for pedestrians. Somebody's going to grab it and like vandalize it or steal it. Like that's not going to work. So I quickly thought, well, I'm not going to do that. But I happen to have a drone, like a little $500 drone I bought at Best Buy that I had been playing around with. And I thought, well, what if I could use that? I wonder how far it will fly. And I wonder how good the images are. And could I even report stuff? Could I see something in the image and figure out where the location was based on the image and then report it? And so initially I flew that little drone around and I would download the images off the drone and then I would look through the images. And if I saw some garbage, I would look at the metadata and then pull out the latitude, longitude, encode that into an address, uh, take a little like cropping of the photo where the garbage was, and then report that through the 311 website.
So in this first uh, implementation of your scheme, you were having to do a lot of work still. Now you weren't having to ride your bike around. The
Mhm.
drone was doing that legwork for you, but you still were having to look at all the images and pick
Yeah.
out the trash yourself. But it made it easier for you, so that increased your efficiency a little bit. Uh,
Well, what
looking
I
through
saw
those.
was that I could look at the image and look and identify the garbage myself,
Yeah.
and I could get the location of the garbage.
How long
So
did it
that
take
was
you
kind of,
to like say cover your neighborhood, like looking through all the photos in a
but
day?
that one I couldn't. The range on that drone wasn't far enough. I could only go like maybe 2 or 3 blocks in any direction.
So you had what like maybe nine nine block area you were covering, or how big was it?
I,
Or
I
even
have the
less?
flight logs from that time, so I still have those flight logs. It's like it's very it's not a grid. I just kind of flew it out and flew it back. So it was like maybe it was like 4 blocks or something like that that I would cover. And it
So
was
you had four
random.
blocks you would cover with this, and that would cut down your time to find the trash compared to
I
riding your bike around a little bit.
I didn't really do much. It just proved to me that I could do something.
Okay, all right.
Um, but then I realized if I go up on
Yeah.
my rooftop, I had better line of sight and I could fly it further. And so I started flying it a little further. And when I flew it further, I started finding a lot more garbage because there's not a lot of garbage within a few blocks of my house. Like there's some, but not a lot. But if I go 5 blocks away from my house, there's a place that has it's one of the biggest dump sites in the whole neighborhood. It's right next to a park, a playground,
Yeah.
and it's really bad. And you wouldn't see it if you wouldn't see it from the road if you were driving by. I never had noticed it before. Um, but I found it and I saw it on there and I was like, that's a lot of garbage. Like, wow, that's incredible.
Wow.
Um, that was like the second phase. And that's when I started like, I was like, I'm gonna fly that like fly a little further and try and do it more often.
Okay,
And
so
that's when I started having like 100 photos.
all right. So then you could actually find some new garbage sites and
But I
but
had
like
100 photos to look through.
fast forward to what you got now. You've got is the flight path now automated?
Yeah, so now the flight path is fully automated. It flies about a square mile and it does it in about 45 minutes. It captures between 500 and 800 photos that have a perfect coverage of all the roads and sidewalks. So the software I have now that I'm using now creates the exact overlay. It takes the exact number of photos needed to cover that area perfectly.
And did you have to use a different drone for that?
Yeah, so I'm using the Mavic 3 Enterprise, which is it's about a $4,000 drone,
Okay.
uh, and it's state of the art. It's the best and the latest and the best drone that DJI offers in this class.
And can you do that on hills? Is it
Yeah, I
hard
can
to
do
do
it.
it? Is it hard to do a grid pattern on a hill?
No, I mean the software has terrain following,
Okay.
so it you can set a height that you want to fly above any terrain when you plan the flight, and it has the ground height altitude mapping in the software. So you just set the height, and then as it's planning the flight, it automatically sets the height that the drone needs to fly above sea level.
That's really cool. And then the other part of this is getting the software to automatically recognize the garbage heaps, right?
Yeah,
And that's like your biggest technical challenge, probably, right?
yeah, I would say
Or one of the biggest ones.
that was one of the biggest ones.
Well,
Um,
and
yeah,
you also have to integrate this to the actual like reporting system that
yeah,
you
that was
have.
relatively straightforward. I mean, that was more of a procedural hurdle of like getting access to the 311 production API.
Yeah, that
I
was
had
you
to
had a
go through
personal
some loops.
connection or something.
Well,
Yeah.
I had to like I created a bit of a campaign, an email campaign in my neighborhood, and had over 100 people send emails to the mayor, the supervisor, the head of DPW. And I also had 12 neighborhood groups draft letters and sign them on their letterhead to the city leadership, asking them to adopt my program. And through that, I got connected with the head of DPW, who reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I'm hearing so much about this. We have to talk." She brought me over to 311 and introduced me to the director of IT at 311, who then started the process with me to get production API access.
So then what was the next step after that? I mean, you integrated it to the system, right? Where they can get your reports automatically from the
Yeah,
drones.
so I mean, there were a lot of next steps and things were moving in parallel. But if we go back to like the AI model, when I was flying the little Best Buy, the drone I got at Best Buy, I started realizing that even with 100 images, it was too much to look through. And I thought, well, I wonder if I could train an AI model. So I took about 2 weeks and I collected as many images of dump sites as I could. So I just flew directly to where the dump sites were, where I knew they were. I collected images at about 100 to 200 feet in altitude. And then I hand labeled about like less than 100 images of dump sites. And I started working on training an AI model to detect the dump sites. Now, that's actually, I skipped the fact that I actually tried to download a model that could do that for me already, but I couldn't. So I had searched the internet, scouring the internet, trying to find something that would do what I wanted. And I found several models that could detect individual pieces of garbage, but there wasn't a good model that could detect an entire pile of garbage. So I ended up
Now,
creating
what
my
about
own.
but before the AI? Like, how good were you at just? Were you always like 100% accurate in distinguishing something as a garbage pile, like just through your images and looking at them? Was there
No,
ever a case where you looked at something and you're like, I don't know what that is?
no. I mean, I could identify what it was. The problem wasn't identification. The problem was focus and concentration. It was a lot of work and I would lose track of what image I was on, or I would, you know, I'd be like, oh, which one did I look at already? And oh wait, I couldn't track what I was doing, like
Okay.
it wasn't a good process. And I'm not a process oriented person. I build software to do all that for me usually. So it was just very difficult for me to actually keep track of where I was in the images, to know what I had already reported and
But
keep
the
track of
images
that.
were clean, and you could tell that it was a garbage dump if
Oh yeah,
just you were looking at them. Okay.
I could show you what some of those images look like. The images are very
Well,
clear.
yeah, I mean, I saw the ones that you had in your proposal, but I didn't know if there was any cases where maybe the thing was out of focus or something you couldn't tell what it was. But okay, so you're perfectly able to tell what the garbage heaps are, but now you're trying to train the AI model to do it. So
Yeah,
what software did you find that could work for this, and how did you change it or
yeah. So
fiddle?
I sought out like an open source object detection model, of which there are numerous ones. In fact, most of them are open source. There are the YOLO series of models, which is like YOLO V1 through V8. They're just different versions of that model. It's an object detection model. And then there are models uh, like uh, like just like a convolutional neural network there are multiple models that do that implement a convolutional neural network, which is an
So,
image object detection uh, AI architecture that's pretty general. Um, and then there are ones that are more advanced, like Mask RCNN, Faster RCNN, uh, and like ResNet. So there's a number of models, and I've tried all of them, all the ones that I could find.
and so the issue with these is something you call texture bias over instead of shape detection, right? Like it's more focused on the texture rather than the kind of outline of the shape.
Yeah, they're all based on convolutional neural networks. they're all based on the basic architecture of a convolutional neural network. They just implement it with a different number of convolutional layers and a different number of fully connected layers. So they're all like different variations of the same architecture. So this is still actually just a theory. Like I haven't
Okay.
proven this completely yet. I just have a theory that the shape will help. And the reason that I have that theory is that there are other things in the world that are textured similar to things in a garbage pile. So like cardboard boxes. Not all cardboard boxes are garbage. Cans, like not all cans are garbage. Like sometimes cans are neatly laid out in
You
like
mentioned like
a
two
grid.
people next to each other, both with shopping bags, would be recognized as garbage by the AI sometimes,
Right.
or certain things on people's roofs, like vents and things, would be seen as garbage.
Yeah, sometimes flowering plants, sometimes like the shadow, like the part of a tree where you can see through to the ground and there's a shadow but also branches going across. I mean, a lot of those I've overcome at this point without texture, without using the shape bias improvement.
So
And
it works fairly well already, right?
yeah,
With
it
trying
works
to
really
find.
right. It works really well right
Oh, it
now.
does, okay.
It's still the precision, the max precision I've achieved is around 65%. And along with that, the recall is at like 50%. So that may not sound amazing, but it's actually really good because I can focus on the highest confidence piles of garbage, and I get enough reports to actually cover the right areas.
Otherwise, these guys that are driving around that work for the city in their trucks just randomly looking for garbage, right?
Yeah. And they don't even really do that. It would be too expensive and too inequitable. They don't have the manpower to patrol. And they won't pick up garbage that they drive by on the way to pick up other garbage. Earlier, I alluded to a lesson I learned about how they pick up garbage and how they decide which ones to pick up. And what I learned is that in San Francisco, the Department of Public Works sets their budget or justifies their budget based on how well they meet the service level agreement that they've put out there for picking up dump sites. That's part of it's not just dump sites, but like everything that goes through 311, which includes anything you can imagine that's in the public domain, has a section in the 311 app where you can report it. So you can report graffiti or cracked concrete on the sidewalk or like a pothole, missing manhole covers, you name it, trees that need watering. You can report everything through the 311 app. And all of those items have a SLA associated with them for the department that is responsible for servicing that item. And those departments' budget depends on their ability to meet those SLAs. And so the more items that they get and the more that they're able to address, the more they can justify their budget. So you can imagine there's a Affluentville here, which is this affluent neighborhood where everybody has really great jobs and there's like a stay-at-home partner who has all the time in the world to do whatever they want. And then working class neighborhood where both partners work and they don't have a lot of free time. And the reporting in the affluent neighborhood is going to be a lot more frequent, and it typically will be a lot more frequent. And so they're going to report every day, and the working class neighborhood, oftentimes things won't be reported for several days. But not only that, but like because the reports happen so frequently in other neighborhoods and the capacity of the department is limited each day, they oftentimes won't even be able to get to the ones in the working class neighborhood in that day, because until like much late, like it takes them a lot longer to get there.
Yeah. Okay. So you can share your screen now. You can
Okay.
also do a whiteboard if you want.
So what you see here is an actual output. It's an output from the AI, and it's detecting all these different little things, like this piece of cardboard here, this bit of garbage here on the side, this one here, this one here. But you see, it's not detecting these things here, right? It's not drawing a box around them, around some of these other items. And so that's a lot of that is what accounts for the the recall not being that great. It's it's detecting for something like this, the confidence is like 90% for this pile here. The model's confidence is very high. And so it detects anything that's like this. And it does a really good job.
Now, how much
It's
did you have to alter the software to get this level of detectability for your garbage heaps?
so you don't really alter this. I didn't alter the software at all.
Okay.
With AI,
You
it's
trained
about
it,
the data. I had to create a completely new data set from scratch that doesn't exist anywhere else.
right? And then you quote unquote train it by telling it which ones are actually garbage and it kind of learns. I mean, how do you do that exactly?
Right. So if you look here on this image, there are these boxes. These are actual like movable boxes. See that?
Yeah.
And you're looking at right now sort of the detection side of things. But if I were to show you, also have the ability to add any detection, any photo I take to my data set. And so here I could say, well, this looks like some good data that I should have as part of my data set. And I've added buttons into my UI where I can add it into my data set, and then I can go in and adjust this box for inclusion in my data set. And so now I'm going to adjust that. There's another one over here. It looks fine. I'm going to look for anything else that it might have missed. And then when I'm satisfied, I'm going to click this button, and that is going to get added to my data set. So now that has been added to my data set. So this is a tool I built into my platform. And when I'm ready, when I've collected enough of those, I can go up here and click this little button at the top, this little beaker. And now that compiles every single item that I've ever added to that data set, including this new one. And at that point, I have a manifest file, or a file that describes all of the bounding boxes and all of the image, and has a link to the hosted location of that image, of all of the images.
Hey, Brian, can you just scroll through some of your images of garbage for people
Yeah,
that haven't really seen this?
yeah. So yeah, you can see here some of the images of garbage. These are ones that were collected over the last couple
Wait, hold
months
on, Gisler. I mean, it's amazing that these things are just right in the middle of the street or right next to cars.
on the
Uh,
sidewalk. Look at this one.
I mean, a lot of people just have never experienced this sort of thing. I mean, I've seen it like very rarely around Austin, but it's pretty clean here.
Yeah, so look at this one.
And
So look at all that stuff.
yeah,
There's just like all kinds of things in here. Yeah,
but
so like
but there could be more even around here than I'm aware of, like off in little
there is.
side
I know where
locations.
it is in Austin because my dad does property management, and he managed some properties in an area that looks like this.
Hmm.
It exists in every city. It's just we don't know about it. San Francisco has the unique quality where in the neighborhood I live in, houses are very expensive, but at the same time, it still suffers from these kinds of issues because San Francisco is like a microcosm. It's only 50 square miles, but in that 50 square miles, it has every single economic and socioeconomic situation that you can imagine.
And probably some of this trash ends up in the bay, right?
Oh yeah, a lot of it does. Um, like the winds here are incredibly high, and you can actually see where I can show you locations that are on the bay where this garbage is. It's in the mud, it's in the dirt around the water. Like it gets blown over there and accumulates. And that area is actually never cleaned on us. It hasn't been cleaned in a long time. So it just, it's really bad. Yeah, it goes in the
And then
river.
another thing too that people didn't realize is that although this sometimes is just furniture, it's often a mix of actual like garbage from kitchens and stuff that stinks, along
Yeah,
with whatever.
it's a lot of different stuff. I mean, it's everything. And that's what, there's no silver bullet. There's no one place where all this garbage comes from. It comes from every single thing you can imagine, like commercial, industrial, personal, like toxic. Like the other day, I've seen like toxic barrels of toxic waste out there. It's everything. I've seen several ton blocks of rock, of like real rock dumped on the road, on the side of the road. Like we're talking pieces of rock, like blocks of rock bigger than a van, and like 5 of them just dumped on the side of the road. It's everything you can imagine.
And then what was the term that you used to describe a situation where people see this everywhere and then they start doing it?
So there's something called the broken window effect. It's not just that they're more likely to do it, it's also that it will bring about other problematic behaviors.
Okay.
So more crime, um, more disease and sickness, more general like depression and poverty and lack of motivation.
And why do they call it a broken window effect? Is that because if you have a broken window in your house, you're inviting somebody to rob you, or or
No,
or
it's
is
just
it
the
like
idea that
a
if you drive down the street and you see a broken window, then you
okay.
believe that that area is not being cared for,
Oh, I see.
and then you're more willing to do something that adversely affects that area because you don't think anybody will care or notice.
Right. People not
So
keeping up their lawns or leaving the garbage bins out too long and just not taking care of their
yeah,
house and
if, if you were to walk around my neighborhood, you'd see a lot of broken windows. You'd see
that's the
people.
last thing a real estate agent wants to see when they're showing somebody a house that they want to sell them is a broken window or a big pile of garbage on the street because
Yeah,
that just seeing one of those is going to tell the person, hey, this place, is a little sketchy, or maybe I want to consider a place where people are more conscientious about where they live and everything.
and if you look at it in that sense of things, if you look at it in the sense of like real estate or like growth or like business, if someone goes to a house or a neighborhood where the houses have broken windows, they're less likely to decide to live there. And then you don't get new people coming into the neighborhood. You don't get a fresh perspective. Businesses are less likely to move there. That's a loss of revenue. The problem really compounds over time.
But, I mean, there's also an issue of like where your children, you don't want your children to see this. And I heard this on a podcast, people talking about this, where they don't, they're thinking about children growing up in an environment where there's trash everywhere and it's bad for their mental health. And there's probably an element of if you grow up in a situation like that, not only is it going to make you feel bad about yourself, but it's probably going to make you more likely to do it yourself
Yeah,
later.
yeah. I mean, I think it does create a unique opportunity to see something that happens everywhere. So there's always a silver lining. Um, but in a world where it happens, that's okay. But it would be great if we had a world where we didn't have it happen. And
Yeah.
then if we didn't have this happening anywhere, I feel like everyone would be better off. Like we'd have cleaner oceans. We'd have less mental health issues. We'd have less crime. We'd have happier people and more productive people. Um, I
So
think
how's
that's
the
what the broken window effect's all about. It's about providing a better starting point for everyone. And I've read numerous opinions on the broken window effect. The majority, apparently, it's the most quoted uh, item in research papers. Period. It's like one of the most quoted items in research paper because,
what?
yeah, because the thing is, we always need a way to justify what we're doing, right? And it's a great way to justify a lot of different solutions, because it talks about reducing crime, reducing like poverty. Everything ties back to sort of the condition of some location. If you can do that, then you can justify all kinds of measures to make the place nicer, from like cleaning up the garbage to like repairing the sidewalks to repairing the streets to like better street lights. The fact is, though, I think it's actually true. And I've met with a lot of people that work in the public sector over the last year and a half, and pretty much all of them uh, believe that this is true based on their own personal experience.
So how successful have you been so far in getting people interested?
I mean, I did talk about like the neighborhood support, people sending in letters. There's been a real outpouring, and I've met with numerous neighborhood groups. I've had individuals pay for subscriptions anywhere from $1 a month to $100 a month to have me fly in an area and just kind of support me. Overall, that wasn't a huge revenue driver. It was maxed out at about $350 a month.
Now you
Because
did get some interest in terms of not just monetary, but also from the people that worked at the in the city, the
yeah,
people
so
that
I've
drove the
met with
trucks, and you
yeah
hung out with these guys and drove around with them some, right?
yeah I've met with DPW here in San Francisco about a dozen times. I've met with the director, the deputy director, supervisors of the different districts for DPW. They break their work up into supervisor districts, and then also the folks, the crew that's clean out in the neighborhood every day and cleaning up. I met with them and showed them the tech and talked and asked them like what their biggest problems were. I also
And what did
recently
those
heard
guys think about what you're doing?
they think it's awesome. They are, there. It depends on who you talk to. Obviously, like everybody has, each unique individual has their own perspective on everything, and but in general, like they understand the value proposition. They realize that not all dumping is reported. They realize that some neighborhoods get it worse than others, and that people are tired, and they're tired of reporting it. They don't feel like they're getting a fair shake. And the crews also have a very deep vested interest in cleaning up these neighborhoods because they live in these neighborhoods.
Yeah, and the more they clean them up, probably the less people will want to dump. I mean, if the
Yeah,
broken window effect is true, right?
yeah, it takes time, but yeah, over time, if a neighborhood's clean, then imagine that person coming in, they hear, oh, you can dump here, and they come here and it's spick and span, it's clean. They're less likely to feel comfortable dumping. And someone living in that neighborhood is more likely to say something to them if they do dump,
Yeah,
right? Because they feel a little bit of pride in their neighborhood. Like, hey, this has been clean for like a year and now you're coming here to dump. No, don't do that here.
yeah.
But what you hear from people right now is like, I've seen people throw garbage out their window, and I've confronted people like that. That's minor. It's like littering, but I've confronted them, and their justification is always like, well, look around, look
Right.
around. And if they can't say that, if that's their first justification, and you can take that away from as a justification, what are they going to go to next? Well, then you can tackle that next. And so I think that like people do use rationalization, and they do rely on it. And if it's not there, it's much more difficult to do something and still believe in yourself and believe you're a good person, which I think a lot of these people still believe they're good people, even though they're dumping. They feel justified.
Have you ever caught anybody on one of your drone photos dumping?
I mean,
Or not
it's
caught
hard.
them, but just seen somebody like pulling up the dump site with a truck full of garbage.
Well, I don't see any motion, so all I would see is a truck near a dump site. I don't even know if it's moving or not, because the uh I'm capturing photos at 1/1200th of a second. That's the exposure time. So I'm snapping
Yeah,
a
so
one. The drone's traveling at like 40 miles per hour, and it's in order to like get a clean image, it needs to capture a very quick snapshot. And so there's no motion. You can't really tell if the car stopped or driving by, if somebody's there at the dump site with a shovel, you don't know if they're cleaning up the garbage or throwing it on the pile because there's just no motion. So
Yeah,
I can't.
I was contemplating like, you know, you get the system to work and you're getting data on where the garbage piles are appearing every day. Then you could have some kind of predictive model of like where's it going to be the next dump site.
Yeah,
And then you could have a stationary drone that goes to that site and sits there and waits for the person to come and then records their license plate.
and the thing is, the city has cameras. They have license plate
Yeah.
cameras, but they don't know where to put them. And when they put them somewhere, and this is one of the things I'm talking to the cities about dealing with, then the dumping moves, and they don't know where it is anymore. And so, like
Well,
in
that's why the
Alameda,
drone thing would work better because it would be mobile.
yeah, and there are drones that could do that, where you could have them basically mounted on a rooftop in a self-charging station that allows it to launch at any given time, and you can send it a signal. Hey, there's dumping that's probably going to happen here at this time. Go there, fly, hover 400 feet in the air, zoom your camera in, and scan around for dumping activity.
Do you think it would be better to let the person dump and record their license plate, or have the drone fly down to them and be like, "Do not dump"?
I don't think enforcement. I think enforcement is probably the area to get the least traction. And I think a lot of departments agree that the source of dumping is so diverse and so widespread, and you can't enforce. I mean, sometimes it's a family that can't even afford the fine.
Right.
Sometimes the people don't understand the laws. Like, and it could be a new person every week. There's 800,000 people in San Francisco. I mean, and at any moment, someone could choose to start dumping for economic reasons that they never had before in their life, and all of a sudden they're faced with them and they have to do it. So enforcement, unless you can really be like Switzerland and enforce it against everyone equally, it's a very hard line to toe. It's a very hard problem to solve from that direction. But discouragement through education, like you need enforcement. Don't get me wrong, and that'll always happen. But I think it's better as a collaboration between a data provider like Airbits, like my company, and law enforcement to like provide good data to them, to say like, here's the ground truth of where all the dumping's happening across the
Okay,
city.
so I mean, but I still think like enforcement, even okay, if your argument is right that these people are underprivileged or they're not going to pay the fine or it's hard to get them to pay it, you could have the drone record their license plate and then you could send them like something,
It's not that easy.
anything. No?
It's just not it's there are so many reasons, like for instance, there are privacy issues. Um, there are regulations that are in place in most major cities that prevent that kind of activity.
Yeah.
It just gets, from my perspective, if we're talking about what I'm trying to do,
Yeah.
it's just not worth. It's not something I should focus on. And really,
Oh
I
yeah,
would
no, I'm
love.
not saying you should do it. I'm just contemplating a future thing, but that is a little creepy having drones flying around like
Yeah,
actually following people or trying to enforce something. Uh that's a totally another level, but yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
and
so
that's one
for
of the things I like about the way I'm using drones is that it's totally privacy. It's privacy free. It's sort of like it protects privacy quite a bit. Like I can't
yeah.
identify people. I can't identify vehicles. I
I mean, it's
masked
not,
out
but
phones.
although it's not that different than having a stationary camera that's recording license plates and everything. So it's just that,
Oh, it's a lot different. It's a lot different.
well, it's different in that it would be more
Perspective,
difficult to,
resolution. You can't. You can't see a license plate. And even if you could see one, you can't read it.
well, the drone would have to fly down, right?
Well, like that would be a different operation. So like, and it would be very difficult to do that.
Yeah.
Like I
Okay,
haven't
so
had,
that,
yeah, I think going that route just presents a lot more trouble than it's worth.
yeah, you're opening the door for hunter killers and Skynet too.
I mean, it's not even that. It's just the operational difficulty increases exponentially. Like what I'm
Yeah,
doing is easy.
yeah,
I
yeah.
go up on a roof, I push a button, the drone flies around for 35 minutes, comes back with 500 photos, still shots of the streets. I run them through a little pipeline, it finds all the garbage, and I report it. I mean, it
Well,
takes me an hour to do that.
importantly, even if you had a better means of enforcement, it would still probably not be that great, and people would still do this. That we're going to still need your solution. Okay, so
Yeah.
what cities are interested in funding this?
I mean, I've gotten interest from cities all over the state. Uh, every city I've talked to is interested. Uh, and it's just a matter of like timing, budget, and there's a process. So I've talked to cities all over the Bay Area, San Jose, Oakland, San Francisco. I've talked to cities around LA. Um, I've had I've had people from Memphis, Tennessee reach out to me. I've talked to people in Dallas. Um, this is a problem everywhere, and most cities are interested. And I did, but there's work to do.
Do you have any
Not only
legal roadblocks?
there's no legal roadblocks for this. There's educational roadblocks. There are things like and budgetary. So it's like I need to show them that this is like the value prop, how much this is worth. They
Mhm.
need to they don't know that inherently. Like, and there's a lot of misunderstanding of what this can provide. You know, even some people believing that maybe it can provide enforcement mechanisms. You know, so they're all interested in drones
Did
and
you get
AI.
that from somebody else?
I've heard that from every department I've talked to. They would love an enforcement, a way to do better enforcement.
Yeah.
But you know, people in the departments aren't necessarily the ones setting the regulations or the laws, and so they have to run everything they do by a legal department, and the legal department is very quickly going to say no, we can't do that.
Okay.
Because of all these, we have regulations that prevent us from accessing that kind of footage. We can't store PI, personal information.
Right.
We have to take all this stuff to the court. So that becomes very difficult. But in general, like that's the education piece. Once they see that that's not a great use of this technology, and then they start to say, well, we do have an issue cleaning things up, and we have to do that anyways. Oh, wait, this is maybe the real good use of this technology is what you're doing. Maybe this is actually, maybe we can use this data in a way to help us do the other stuff in more conventional ways. So things like if San Francisco was interested in flying twice a day in the areas that get hit a lot, that way we could sort of determine, like, is the dumping happening at night, throughout the day, or in the evening? And if we do that, then they can more, the police resources are limited, so they can focus the police resources to go out at the right time and do their stakeouts.
Yeah,
So
get the
that's like,
police to enforce it.
yeah,
And that's like what I said about the drone, except it's more legally possible to have the police do it because you're going to get information on where people are doing this and when they're doing it, and that might be the important thing for enforcement. It's
yeah.
just
I get
not
information on where the dump sites are and when they show up. That's it. Like the dump site. And so like from that you can extrapolate, well, if the dump sites show up on Friday at Carroll Avenue and Jenkins every Friday,
right.
well,
And send a cop there.
maybe send a cop there in an unmarked car and just wait on Friday. You're going to catch whoever's doing it.
So
Like, I don't
I mean,
have to be involved
to
in
me, that
enforcement.
was probably the most important part of what I was thinking about in terms of enforcement is just being able to, what your data would give you is an ability to predict, sometimes where somebody's going to dump
Yeah. So
and
the problem that they have right now is the data they get is not like that. So in Noe Valley, they may get 100 reports of the same cup. There's a cup in the gutter, one cup, and everybody, like half the people who walk by report it.
what?
like some neighborhoods, people report everything that goes wrong. I don't know if you've noticed that, but like sometimes people
Oh,
really
I see.
care about their neighborhoods, and they have access to the technology, and each
Right.
person, and there are enough people that care that they will report everything,
And
and
then they're
multiple
getting all
times.
the calls from the places that least need it.
Yeah. And then the places where the dumping's really bad and people don't do that, it may not get reported for weeks. And I've seen that happen where I found literal like yards of garbage, like a block full of garbage. Like the whole sidewalk for an entire block is covered in garbage because it
Wow,
sat there unreported for months and
that's
just
crazy.
accumulated. People were like, oh, that's where you go to dump because it's already got dumping. And so it just piled up. And the city had to bring out bulldozers and a compactor truck, and actually got photos of when they were there. I happened to be flying when they were, because it took them a while to clean it up. So a couple of the days I flew over, you could see them actually with their bulldozers pushing the garbage down the street and like putting it into a compactor truck.
Yeah. I mean, that's important to emphasize is that it's unbiased compared to the human reporting, whereas the humans that are living in nice neighborhoods are reporting on the garbage, and then the people in the bad neighborhoods aren't reporting it. And the drone's going to be perfect in its assessment of where the garbage is. And so that's a big advantage of it.
It's an
Okay, so
equitable way to like find the ground truth. It doesn't rely on any bias. It's
yeah.
unbiased in a way. It's very objective.
So have you gotten any funding for this from cities or anybody?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No,
And
I've been
you,
funding this myself.
okay.
And it's a startup. I'm basically trying to start something new.
Yeah.
Nobody's doing this.
But some
So
people might be funded, or has anybody expressed any interest yet? Or like,
yeah,
in terms
like
of,
San Francisco verbally told me that they want to spend $100,000 on a pilot,
okay.
and we started the process of creating a request for proposal, but that was in August of last year, and it it's been slow going. I talk to them every once a month approximately, and they still say that this is something they want to do, and they're planning on moving forward with it, but it's taking a long time. Also, I'm meeting with Alameda County. They've expressed an interest. I have a proposal out with them. They said that this proposal looks good. They want to make a few changes, and they'll probably go with it. So that's probably going to be my first customer. And then I'm meeting with a few cities near LA that want to license the software, and I won't have to fly the drone there. They have their own drones, and so we'll see what that. I'm looking at trying to close my first customer.
So what would they be licensing from you? Would it be your work and training, but the model, or like what would you be selling them there?
I would sell them the derivative of their own data. So like I could derive from the images they provide me, I could derive locations of garbage piles, for instance. And I could provide them all of the garbage pile locations.
Do you have a patent?
I do have a patent.
What's
I have a provisional patent.
and that is describing your method for training the, or what is the patent?
No,
What's
the
the idea?
patent is on the fully vertical application of this technology to detect and report illegal dumping or dump sites.
Fully vertical,
So that's like everything. If you took the whole thing as a whole,
the
I've
whole
patented
process,
the whole
including
process.
the drone and the way you're training the AI.
Yeah,
And so
the
because you
flight,
hold
sort of like
the flight grid,
perspective,
right?
the way that I'm triangulating the exact location of the dump site, and the way that I'm packaging the data, the fact that I'm using a convolutional neural network, the fact that
Did you
I'm
have a patent lawyer help you draw that up, or what?
I have I actually have a law degree, and I studied patent law, and I have friends in who have been practicing patent law since then, and so I reached out to a friend, and we worked on that together. So I drafted it myself, and then I had Amber look over it.
So you
Like
basically knew how to do it.
I knew how to do it. I filed patents before in law school. I was president of the intellectual property group and founder at my law school, and I know how to do it. I've done it. I've filed a few patents already, but patents. It's really for me. It's more of a defense mechanism than it is something I'm going to reach out and like sue anyone. I just wanted. I didn't want someone to see what I was doing after I did it, come in themselves and patent it, and then prevent me from doing it.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So that was why it's so specific to what I'm doing. Now, for instance, if I did do this, I have proposed a research project, which you've read my proposal, and I proposed it to the National Science Foundation to use a technique that's been used before for object detection and removing texture bias, but I'd be applying it to dump sites, which are unique in that they're varied in their shape. If I do that work, I will probably patent that as well, even though I'll be like granting a license to some of it. But I want to be able to. I don't want someone to take that either.
Well, to go back to what you said about the patent being a defensive mechanism, it seems like to me, though, it's also important for letting you get funding. I mean, it would be partially based on the patent that a city would pay you to do this, right? Because you're the patent holder.
No, I
No,
mean,
you don't think so?
I don't think so. I think that like there are so many ways to tackle this problem. It'd be difficult for me to patent all of them. There are different models that could be used. They could, there's a way around that. This patent
Okay, so here's
probably
another
works.
question on that, which is that one argument for patents is that they encourage people to share their ideas, um, because otherwise, the only way to protect yourself if you're trying to get a profit off it is to be secret until you have it like perfectly developed. Until you get it to the point where it's something you can market. Now,
I think that's if it's easily replicable. I mean,
yeah.
but if you think about my journey of getting here, it took me. My model's still not perfect. It's still not. It still needs work, and it took me a year of pretty much every day, iteratively improving this model to get here. Not saying that Google or someone else couldn't come and do that as well. It's just I think that sometimes you find a niche or a place where who wants to do garbage and who wants to apply machine vision models to it. It
So
may
you're
be that,
you're basically not worried about somebody doing this,
I mean,
also being a
they
competitor.
could do it, but like I just think that they're gonna have to they're gonna have to be very similar to me, and they're gonna have to be a very lean company. I don't think the profit margins in this are going to be huge. And they're going to have to really focus on garbage when they could focus on so many other things. I just, sometimes you find something that people just don't want to work on. You know,
What if what if your kind of like arch nemesis came out of the woodwork and started doing this? I mean, somebody that's like just like you that was kind of was annoying and just doing this also, and you're like after a little while you're like, hey man, this is my
I mean,
this is my piece of turf.
at least I've filed the patent that shows that when I had the idea and when I created the first version of it.
Yeah.
If I need to like defend my right to do it, I can do that. But I'm hoping that I can actually be competitive, and I want to actually solve the problem. I want to be the best solution. You
Right.
know,
You're not
like
worried because
Amazon
you're
patented
confident
the.
you'll be the best. You
Well,
don't
that's what I
think
want to be.
somebody's going to be better than you, and I think that's a pretty safe assumption because you know how to do this stuff and you're passionate about it and very creative. I mean, I've known you for a long time, and I mean, I've never seen somebody build. You're like a master level Lego at Legos, which is you're like the grandmaster of Legos, which to me, in addition to everything else you've done, you're like very high in general intelligence. You're highly educated, and you want to do this, and like how many people
Yeah.
are gonna beat you?
How
I
many
mean, you're
people
just not, you're
happen to
not worried
live?
about it.
Like, think about this. How many people live in this? This is the number one most dumped on neighborhood in San Francisco. How many people live in this neighborhood who match that criteria? I mean, I'm fascinated with AI, and I have been my whole life pretty much. I love drones and remote control vehicles. I've been doing software since we were kids, and um I'm interested in starting a company. Like, it's a really small area. You don't hear people buzzing about this when they talk about AI. Nobody's like, oh, everybody's talking about agents and chatbots, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's the majority. The protection, the patent's really there as like, I think it, like, for funding, it's really important, like you said. I think it's a sort of a dotting my I's kind of thing. Like, I just don't want to regret not having done it.
Right.
It's a point in time that proves that I had this idea and that I was able to articulate it.
How many pages is the patent?
It's a provisional, so I think it's like 8 pages. It's like there's a set number of, it's like 15 pages or something like that total.
Okay.
It's like including all the extra, like it has like, a certain format it has to be in.
And then
Yeah.
when do you hear back on the NSF thing?
By the end of this month.
Oh
So I
wow.
reached out to them and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna have an answer by the end of this month." I've
This
also
does seem,
applied.
like something that they would be interested in doing possibly. I
Yeah,
mean, because that's,
I have two exciting things coming up by the end of this month. Actually, this month's very exciting. Now it's good that we're talking about this because I'm getting a little perspective. I will find out this month if I'm accepted to Y Combinator, or if I'm like, I have a chance at being accepted to Y Combinator, which is a startup incubator, probably the most famous startup incubator in the world. Um, I'm also going to hear back from the NSF if I get $275,000 of funding to improve the state of the art in aerial dump site detection. And then I should find out from Alameda County whether they're interested in accepting my proposal for covering 3 square miles of their choosing for a month. Uh, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff this month happening with this project.
and Y Combinator is basically a VC type of firm that funds many startups, right? Like it's kind of a shotgun approach.
Yeah.
And then how do you scale up in that, or how does that funding system work?
So the way I see that working, and I think it can work in many ways, it can work from all the way from just getting introductions to like other people who want to solve the same problems. Uh, just being in an environment where there are other founders and you go there often, like a couple times a week, and you feel the energy and you get ideas, you bounce ideas off of each other, all the way up to like finding a co-founder. Like, they can help you find someone. Like, I could find someone who has more go-to-market experience or is more
Hmm.
focused on marketing. Um, and
How far
then
is their building from your house?
like I mean, they have a building in Palo Alto, which is like a 45-minute drive. There's a train I can take there.
Hmm.
But they also have offices in San Francisco, which is like 4 miles from my house. And there's a train
Cool.
that goes there too. So it's all pretty
Yeah.
convenient. Uh, I used to commute downtown every day. Like, commuting is a regular thing around here, and it can be done. They also, I mean, they could also fund my project if I did raise funding, that would allow me to sort of to like not just focus on the Bay Area, but to expand out and focus on other states. Um, I could potentially try experiment with expansion into other states to see if I get more traction.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. So, what at this point do you think would be the ultimate goal? I mean, would you want to see this? I mean, for you, like, would I mean, right now you're doing software development, right? Kind of custom software development for people. Like you're kind of independent, right? And you want to you started this company, West Coast Dynamics, right? And you would like to scale it up. Like in your perfect world, what would what would you be doing with your time? Would you be working full time on your drone project? Would you have a company on that, or would you still, or would you be hoping that other people would adopt this, and you would just get it started and then move on to other things? Or
I mean, my eyes right now, the prize for me is solving my own problem. That's
yeah,
why, like, I did leave my job before I started this with the intention of starting something for myself. But this problem is actually very close to home and very personal, which is one of the reasons why I really like it.
yeah.
And so I do want to, like, my primary goal is actually solving my own problem and getting this neighborhood cleaned up and helping my family, but also all of my neighbors live in a better place. Part of that, when I see that that's possible, and I know it's possible because I've done it myself, I can't sustain that forever on my own dime, but I've made it happen on my own dime. But seeing that that's possible opened my eyes up to many more possibilities using the same technology.
So if you can get it to work there, then it should be scalable.
I think it will
And
be scalable, but I think it can also solve other problems. I think we can solve problems, all kinds of many infrastructure problems using the same data and the same flights that I'm already doing to solve this problem. I can add AI pipelines on top of my existing AI pipeline to solve other problems. Things like potholes, missing crosswalk or faded paint on crosswalks, trees that need watering.
so you might move on to some other issues in this general approach.
Expand. I look
Yeah.
at it as like landing on the thing that's impacting me the most. The most painful issue for me is this dumping. It is the most painful thing because it's unhealthy, it's unsanitary, it's unsightly, and it makes me sad every
And
day.
have you seen a notable difference in your neighborhood yet? Just in your
When I,
everyday
when I when
experience?
I fly every day, I see a major difference. So I did a case study where I flew every day for a month. So on May 9th of 2022, I hadn't flown consistently before that. That was like kind of the beginning of when on May 1st is when I made the decision. I'm going to fly every day and see what happens. On May 9th, I started. And on that day, my AI was pretty good. And I detected and validated that there were 118 dump sites in the square mile around my house. I flew for 26 days straight, every day reporting every dump site. And every day, the number of dump sites steadily declined, like either stayed about the same or went down. And at the end of 24 days, on the last day I flew, there were 5 dump sites in that same area. So from 118 to 5. And then I took a 2-week break and I didn't fly for 2 weeks or report any dumping. On the day I came back, 2 weeks later, I flew and there were 73 dump sites in that same area. I flew again for 26 days. And at the end of 26 days, there were 7 dump sites on the streets. And then I flew for another month every day. And the number of dump sites fluctuated between 0 and 15. So it just stayed between 0 and 15. And at that point, I went back around to people in my neighborhood that I had spoken with about like adopting this. And I was asking people like, does it feel cleaner? Like, how does it feel? And people were they were ecstatic. They were excited. They were like, they didn't realize that it had anything to do with me. They just said, hey, the problem seems like it's gone away. DPW is here all the time. I don't know what's going on, but the neighborhood's so clean and they're always cleaning up things before I even notice them. And so
Brian,
it works. I've seen
thank
it.
you
Yeah.
for being on the Natural Reward podcast. I think what you're doing is amazing, and I wish you the best of luck. And hopefully, we can talk and review how your progress has gone at some point in the future.
Thanks, Owen.